those were my off days actually. I was just okay. Let's see how bad we can get.
We don't need to be Western. We need to be more rooted in our culture. We need to be rooted in our locations, because that is what will give them a kick in seeing our real locations, in our real terrain.
That we could create our own new agents. Otherwise, there was no way to create new characters like Honey and Bunny.
Everyone was like, okay, it's going to be an easy day, and that turned out to be truly difficult. For some reason, what was the reason we couldn't get it right?
Hello everyone, welcome to The Hindu.
Hi, how are you?
Varun, I have to start talking about your jackets in Citadel Honey Bunny. The 90s kid in me got very excited. They're almost straight out of Takatwar, which your dad directed, right? Like there's the red one and then there's the leather jacket.
They were they were chosen specifically for all these scenes by Rajan DK and Amira, who was a costume designer. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the 90s, so eventually when they showed me the mood board that these are the clothes you're wearing, these high boots, these kind of pants which have this high waist, the shirts. Right. There was a Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson reference as well. There was a Takatwar reference as well. A lot of Sanjay Dutt references.
Right.
I sport a mullet also.
Yes.
So I was just thrilled to do it.
Samantha, tell me about the audition sequence. Like it's hilarious. It's like Sridevi, Juhi Chawla bang together. Like, where you do that, get scared, and now. You know, tell me about doing.
I think these two were just messing with me. It wasn't even in the script.
Oh, it wasn't?
It wasn't in the
None
script.
None of it?
No, like I mean, the audition was there, but
not the reaction.
Not the reaction. They were just like, and you know, I think in the they were on while we were shooting, they were on the mic. Okay, so he was giving me the direction and of that of you know a little bit of fear and surprise. Like really, and they went on with it. But
we went through a gamut of emotions, no?
Anger, sadness, surprise, the whole thing.
Anger, angst.
Anger, happiness.
No, angst,
Anger, angst, happiness.
I think you should continue since you were bullying.
See, I was not bullying. I was like, once you have an actor on there, now they are yours, right? They are there. Once it's action, then you can do what you want, right? You can give instruction, they'll follow. But so we were just, all of us were there, DK, Sita and I sitting. So we were giving different emotions.
Sadness,
throwing at it, and she was seriously doing each emotion. We were like, okay, we got it, but let's continue a bit more.
And she's diligently doing it.
Did you have any reference for Honey? Like I mentioned Sridevi, but did you have any film star reference for how you would design Honey, especially in the Bombay sequences when we see her?
As in the
struggling
actor part was actually it's not a very large part of the series. So I think that those were my off days actually. I was just okay, let's see how bad we can get. Yeah, but those were the off days. Those were the fun days.
Right.
And there were just like some few, very few of them. So I mean, I didn't have any references actually. I was just remembering how some of my earlier films were. I was pretty bad, so I just went with that.
I see. This for Raj and Sita. Guys, when this project was announced, one apprehension I had was that because it's a spin-off of an American show, I thought the style will become more homogenized, more American, and somewhere the Rajan DK flavor, the rooted Indian flavor would be lost. And I was very delighted when I saw the first episode, you know, that not only it's there, you guys have actually doubled down. Did the Russo brothers give you enough freedom to make this as much your story as it is a global show?
Yeah, all our lives, the one thing we were afraid of whenever a studio approached us or a producer approached us, especially in the earlier years, to make something, and they gave us offers to make sequels of bigger films and all that, we were never enthusiastic about it, even though we didn't have a film in our hands, but there somebody is giving us a huge film sequel, because we knew the vision was set and then we couldn't do much about it. And we also knew that our strength was to create something original, so we could be, it would be us in it. And so yes, we were elated when we got this offer, but we were also quite suspect of how much it's going to be. What if, and especially when you hear Western way of making films, it's very produced, right? You give a script and they have to stick to it. You know, it's very like that. But thankfully and surprisingly and refreshingly, it was completely open for interpretation. Basic guidelines, and beyond that, stick to what you want to do because we like your filmmaking. So do what you want to do. So nothing of that sort. It's really more about technicalities, like this institution, Manticore, Citadel, how they are doing, how they are doing. So keep those a bit in mind because you can veer away too far from it. And also we chose something, a canvas that is so far away from their world that this becomes a standalone series by itself. You know, which we went very far away from the tech and the futuristicness, any of this plot, their plot, because we could really understand or see, because they could see it all and we could only see a piece of it. So we, thankfully when they said do one, so we went very far and disconnected in a way that we could create our own new agents. Otherwise there was no way to create new characters like Honey and Bunny. So yes, that's
As a matter of fact, they welcomed our storytelling. In fact, I remember Raj said the first thing they said is any genre, tell your story. Whatever it is it's open for you. Just tell your story. So when you start from there, it can only go up.
What I like about them, and they did a 90s show before this also, it also mirrors the simplicity and the rhythm of those films, right? Like a lot of the tropes, like a simple scene where the heroine's stuck, he's got to go and rescue her, and you know there's the one that happens after that. These are tropes we have grown up on.
Yeah.
Is that something you guys enjoyed also as actors? That's not just 90s as window dressing, but it also feels true to the rhythm of films that were made back then.
100%. So there's not like going on, like extra cutting is not going on, that extra shot, you know. So when you perform as an actor, you want the audience to feel what you're feeling. And sometimes that feel comes when you're given that time and space to really speak. Now they might have the handhelds where they are covering it from different angles obviously, but we would always pick up the scene from the beginning. It was never like, Varun, just take it from here. It was always go from the beginning. And I remember I have this long scene where I speak about Baba, which is KK sir, to Sam for the first time, to Sam's character. And I'm telling her what he's done for me, who he is. And it's a long piece. And there are some intercuts in this whole thing. But for me as an actor, that full voiceover, that whole thing was something we really worked on, because it's my entire story I'm saying in that scene.
No, as filmmakers also, as we grow, we have to keep looking at ourselves as to how we can be better. And so the one thing I realize is that how we can be better as filmmakers if we choose better actors. So once you have these actors who are extremely talented and can do it, because earlier we were making movies when we were shooting scenes in pieces. Like I'll do these 4 lines, then I'll change the angle, I'll do these 4 lines. But now I let the actors give it their best, and I'll figure how to capture it. Rather than design a shot and say, isme 4 line, usme 1 line, usme 1 line. So to add to it, it's nice to reflect on that one thought key, realize how we have grown, that anytime.
Oh, you all wouldn't do that, otherwise you all wouldn't do that so much?
Not earlier in earlier works, because I was dependent on the actor and some of them would not know the lines or would not be in it. And when you guys are acting right now, the reason we say let's start from the beginning is that the scene was really thought through and designed to flow in such a way that even as acting, it could the performance gets better if you're in it versus faking it for those 4 lines. So
even the terrace scene for that matter. Those
even if light is failing and we have like 5 minutes, 4 minutes of light, we'll still run the whole scene to shoot it to get the best from them.
Sam, how complex was the car one for you? It's insane.
You know, we shot that towards the end of the series, and by then I had done a lot more of the fancier, cooler stuff, and I thought that this is kind of child's play. It's just 3 of us. It's choreography. We got this. It's 2 hours of work. Everyone was like, okay, it's chill day today. It was actually the first time that only one thing was planned that day. Otherwise, we shoot like 4 scenes, I think, in a day. So everyone was like, okay, it's going to be an easy day, and that turned out to be really difficult. For some reason, what was the reason we couldn't get it right?
No, it was also because we can't give the trade secrets of how we shot it.
Right.
But
the camera,
because of the movement and because of all the restrictions, if you remember the set, it is very tough to shoot that scene because you know what all went in to make it, but they had to be on the spot, on the dot. So what happens is, and also the car is swerving, and you have to be in it, and you have to shoot the right times, you know, and the others cannot be lax because everybody's seen all the time. So you can't just be waiting for her to kick and hold her. You know, you see all these beats. We've seen enough films that everybody can see that the bad guy is waiting for the hero to be punched. So you don't want that moment.
He seems to think that we went 12 takes, but I seem to think that it was about 40 easily, because we were supposed to finish at like some 12 when we finished it.
I didn't even think it was going to be a highlight. Now that this is the third time somebody mentioning it, because we thought
it was
it's a
nothing.
40-second shot. So I said, chalo, we'll do something
But
quick.
it's very cool because it's in the car.
Because
so it's very
it's
cool.
pretty cool,
Shot. It's very well shot and very well performed.
It was very uncomfortable, and we all three of us had to be in perfect sync, because for the swerve we had to like, it was all like, you know.
I also love how the knife comes out of the leather. It's
Of
pretty
the leather
cool.
and
Yeah,
shot.
yeah,
That's very well done.
We call it the Chucky shot.
yeah. The Chucky shot.
Okay, can we reveal that? No.
Yes, tell me this. We've had streaming's been around for a while in India, and we've had great shows. I'm not denying that we have had great shows. A lot of them have crossed over internationally. But personally, do you think that there's something still we need to do to make that one great crossover title, you know, that everyone in the world is buzzing about, talking about, that translates to the level that some Korean shows have, some Mexican shows? I'm talking about that. And this is not to, disregard the hard work and, the writers' rooms that have been created, all of that. We are getting there. But what do you think it will take, to take Indian streaming and a show, especially a show, to become that kind of a global crossover?
I think it will take to be extremely Indian. Because everything else they have, right? So we don't need to be Western. We need to be more rooted in our culture. We need to be rooted in our locations. Because that is what will give them a kick in seeing our real locations, in our real terrain.
Yeah,
and I think
felt that about Shogun.
Correct.
I
Yeah,
really
exactly.
felt that about Shogun. It wasn't like on a huge scale, but it was very
culture.
rooted.
Yeah,
and
it's their culture.
It was something.
It ends with a poetry competition, for God's sake. That's how it is.
So I think Raj DK do that very well. They really involve the locations and terrain of the country in whatever they're making. So
and they're not influenced or intimidated.
Yeah.
So
I think the West would get to see how that world, they do world building. So I think
Right.
I think there are good shows in India.
There are.
Of course.
But I feel that you discover them. It's not, they are not pushed everywhere. It's not like marketed everywhere. So some of these shows that you talk about were discovered, a lot were pushed too, because so you still get recommendation from people saying, have you seen that Swedish series? It's brilliant, but nobody pushed it. So I feel we're there. Any of them will break out.
Right. We read this wonderful, very fascinating stories how, during the World War II, a lot of these Hollywood stars, they had been enlisted as spies. Let's say Cary Grant or Audrey Hepburn worked during the Dutch Resistance. I wonder there is a secret history of Bollywood ever being part of, I don't know, espionage, international. Have you ever heard something?
I have. There's this very interesting book called The Red Sun. And it talks about Naxalism. So you should, it's a bit around all this.
With cinema in it?
It has something of a background. I don't know if it's down to controversial, but it has bits of this.
But
For
who
us,
was that? Was it Catherine
for us
Hepburn?
over here, I think it would
No,
be
not Catherine
who's.
Hepburn.
I think if you read the book, it'll tell you.
Have you ever heard something along these lines? I wonder if this came from somewhere true or maybe has some resonance to
For
history.
some reason, Americans, the Western world seem to have a ton of stories that they can make true stories out of. I don't seem to find that strange, that very true stories. I don't know why. Maybe the literature, maybe our accessibility to those stories, but I'm sure there are a ton of them in India. We are more varied in culture and diverse in our things. But I don't know why we don't have those.
There's a Hunter Nadia reference in there, and she used to travel around the globe and then stuff like that. There's a lot of fashion. Sita, you have something along these lines. Have you ever heard of a story of how Indian cinema and, let's say, geopolitics interacted in an interesting way?
Actually, not too much Indian cinema as much as the Germans during the Nazi times. They were full of actors and opera singers and all of these people who were double agents and filling in for, information sharing, gathering, all of that. So all of this has, contributed somewhere into our writing.
There's a wonderful show on it also. Ferragamo?
Designer.
No, not Gucci.
Coco
Ferragamo.
Chanel.
Huh?
Coco Chanel. Not
Yeah, Coco Chanel.
Chanel.
Coco
Yeah.
Chanel, yeah.
Great.
Interesting.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's lovely.
Shilajit.
All the
Thank
best
you
for the
so
show.
much.
Thank
so
you.
much.